Mass Device Fast 5 MedTech News Podcast, the show that keeps you up to date on the latest breakthroughs in medical technology with the top 5 news stories to get your day started. Today is May 31st. I'm your host, Danielle Kirsh, and today I'm joined by our guest co-host for the week, Executive Editor Kirsh Newmarker. Today we're going to talk about Think Surgical's FDA clearance for its surgical robotic platform, HeartBeam and Samsung's at-home cardiac care partnership, and Titan Medical licensing out its IP to Intuitive Surgical. First things first, going to check in with our guest co-host. Chris, how are you today? How's the state of medtech?
Doing well, Danielle. Gosh, I can actually say what I usually say in Device Talks weekly. I'd be like, good to be here. But it's feeling good after a nice long Memorial Day weekend where for the first time in a long time it didn't rain in Minnesota, so that was nice and good time out hiking and picnicking with the kids for the weekend. But here we are today, right? The state of medtech, and sure seems like we have a lot of surgical robotic news today.
Yes, that seems to be kind of the trend recently, so I'm excited to get into it. And just wanted to let everyone know that Chris is basically our first fan. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I just love what you and Sean have done with this daily podcast, and it's fun to fill in this week.
Well, with that being said, what's the first thing that we should know to get our day started today?
One really big piece of news we have today is HeartBeam is partnering with Samsung to boost at-home cardiac care.
Awesome. And what will the collaboration explore?
Well, like the big picture is that, the two companies think their technologies could, boost the standard of cardiac diagnostic capabilities. HeartBeam, recently, acquired patents for actually, they recently secured a pivotal patent that related to artificial intelligence capabilities to, boost diagnostics of, cardiac conditions. And then they also acquired Livmore, which had its Halo AFib detection system, which this is like a FDA cleared Samsung Galaxy Watch based arrhythmia detection tool. So they have this really smartphone based AFib detection tool along with AI. And then it's Samsung. We all know Samsung, this huge global consumer electronics company. It's interesting to see what these two companies will be able to do together.
Yeah, it sounds like this partnership has the potential to revolutionize at-home cardiac care. And even, as you mentioned, Samsung is a worldwide company. So the partnership seems like it could leverage their technological expertise and then HeartBeam's cardiac services. So what do executives at the two companies think about this partnership?
Well, HeartBeam's CEO and founder, spoke about this partnership. He was talking about a significantly expanding product capabilities beyond the existing options that are out there for at-home cardiac patients. And then, kind of on Samsung's, side, there was some talk about how they could, leverage, some potential engagements with the VA hospitals here in the United States, which actually a great spot for innovation.
Interesting. This builds upon previous partnerships with Samsung, right? I know you briefly touched on Livmore.
Yeah, exactly. HeartBeam had acquired Livmore. Livmore had a strategic alliance agreement with Samsung already. So now HeartBeam is also creating a strategic alliance with Samsung as well. So they kind of acquired a company that was doing a lot with Samsung, and now this is kind of I guess kind of solidifying, driving home what HeartBeam has going on now that they've acquired Livmore.
Awesome. Sounds like it could improve patient outcomes, reduce hospitalizations, and even empower individuals in the future to take more proactive measures in managing their cardiac health.
Definitely. Untreated AFib can lead to stroke. So here's to hoping that efforts such as this can, help catch undetected AFib and, hopefully prevent some, more strokes here in the United States and around the world.
Definitely. What's the next thing we need to know to get our day started?
Well, the next thing we need to know about is the news that Concept Medical winning a FDA IDE approval for its sirolimus-coated balloon that treats a superficial femoral artery disease, and this is a story that you wrote.
Yeah, it's interesting, and we'll dive into one of the interesting parts. I'll mention that again when we get to the end, but First of all, what is the MagicTouch PTA and what does it treat?
Well, the MagicTouch PTA, it's a sirolimus-coated balloon. It has extensive commercial use already in Europe, major markets of Asia, and Mid-Eastern markets. And it's worth noting that peripheral artery disease affects an estimated 250,000 adults in Europe and North America, according to the company. So it's associated with significant morbidity and mortality, arteriosclerosis being the main cause. So, I mean, definitely a device that, where there's a need.
So what does this new IDE approval allow the company to do?
Well, the new IDE approval, it allows them to, initiate a pivotal clinical study to, demonstrate the safety and effectiveness of the MagicTouch PTA balloon. So, and then data generated from this clinical study will support a future PMA application here in the United States. And, that's kind of what we see with this IDE program is kind of smooths the way to get clinical trials done, and get the data together to, hopefully, get, some kind of, approval for a device. And, we're increasingly seeing companies, making announcements when they get these investigational device exemptions, because it's a way to point out, look, we've reached a milestone. We're moving forward to something next.
For sure. And the interesting part about this release to me was that this is the fourth IDE approval for Concept Medical in recent months. So can you tell us a little more about what the other indications are for this device?
Yeah, they said it has IDE approval for coronary in-stent restenosis, coronary small vessel, and below the knee indications.
Awesome. Let's move on to some robotic surgery news.
Sounds good. Well, next up we've got, the FDA cleared a handheld robotic knee surgery device from Think Surgical. And this is looks like it's called the TMINI miniature robotic system. And it's the company describes it kind of as this wireless robotic handpiece, assist surgeons in performing total knee replacements. And you do the CT-based scan, and then this TMINI robotic handpiece automatically compensates for surgeon hand movements so that they can locate bone pens, along precisely defined planes, and then you can get the cutting guides connected to the bone pens, and the result they're saying is accurate bone resection. So it's kind of like instead of kind of the traditional thing I always think of with robotic surgery devices is that it's about the robot's doing the surgery under the guidance of a surgeon, but this seems a lot more about a device with robotic features that's assisting the surgeon doing the work.
Gotcha. And this seems like a significant milestone in at least robotic orthopedic surgery because it introduces a new level of precision and assistance to total knee surgeries. I'm sure executives at the company are excited about this FDA clearance and potentially the opportunity to join the growing robotic surgery market.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've covered about Think Surgical doing other stuff in this space. I mean, this seems really interesting because the fact that they have this. They're saying that this robotic system could replace many of the instruments currently used in knee replacement, and then you add on top of that that they're committed to having an open implant library. So they're going to continue to add new implant options to the platform over time. So it's basically the surgeon is still doing a lot of things the surgeon usually did. It's just that a lot of their devices are now replaced with this robotic device. A lot of their tools are replaced by it, and then, they can still use the implants that, they want to use over time. So, they're kind of the officials of the company are kind of saying this could open up, robotic options to all kinds of places and, in the orthosurgery space where, maybe the surgeons were, a little bit more, hesitant about going for a big, expensive surgical robot system.
Interesting. And we should note that we do have several robotic surgery roundups on Mass Device that you're constantly updating, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you got go on, just do Google searches for robotic surgery systems you need to know. And, yes, we're, once or twice a year, we're updating big roundups of all of the companies in the space. It's whether it's soft tissue surgery or orthopedic surgery. We just got, just so many companies now that are just kind of in the space that are competing. It still remains a really hot space. So it's interesting though that in soft tissue that Intuitive still remains the dominant company.
And we will touch on Intuitive in a little bit. But before we get to that, let's talk about the next thing that we should know for the day.
Well, the next thing to, point out is that, that we caught some news on LinkedIn that, Medtronic cardiovascular diagnostics and services president, Julie Brewer, she's left for a new position at Baxter. She's now going to be, president of patient support systems, global surgical solutions, and the care communications team at Baxter.
So this seems like a notable development within the medtech industry. Did she offer any parting words?
Yeah, she did. She was, saying that she was, she described Baxter as a great company with, a wonderful purpose of, saving and staying lives. Said she was really excited to go over there. But at the same time, she also knows she's been at Medtronic for, 17 years, and described them as an amazing company that provided her many opportunities over those 17 years. It's worth noting Medtronic provided me a statement that said that they now have Stacy Churchwell, who's assumed the role of vice president and general manager of the cardiovascular diagnostics and services business, which they've now rolled into their cardiac rhythm management operating unit. So it appears that this business that she was running is it's with many parts of Medtronic, it's involved in all the kind of like internal reorganizations and potentially like layoffs that have just been going on there recently.
Now, Brewer's extensive experience and leadership in the field obviously make her a valuable addition to Baxter, and her new role kind of signifies the company's commitment to strategic growth and innovation. This is an interesting move considering both companies have had layoffs recently.
Yeah, exactly. They've both had layoffs, and I kind of think they're both similar in a way that they both, I included quotes from both of their CEOs, and they're both kind of saying the same type of thing, that, on one side, they're having to, take some of these actions to, just deal with, these economic factors and supply chain factors that just make it more expensive to run a business. But at the same time, they want to balance that with the fact that they want to innovate. They want to make sure they're, making the right investments so that they can grow into the future. So, it does seem to me that, Brewer joining Baxter is, that says something about Baxter, wanting to, she's part of that investment and, in the future over there.
I agree. This executive move kind of demonstrates the dynamic nature of the industry, with top-level professionals bringing their expertise to different organizations to drive advances and better serve patients overall. Back to robotic surgery. What's the last thing that we should know for the day?
Well, the last thing we had, Titan Medical, announcing that they've licensed out most of their intellectual property now to Intuitive. This is just kind of part of a big strategic transition. We've been covering this for, months, how they were, for a while, it looked like they were kind of looking for someone to sell the company to. And, now it looks like it's, they found a way to kind of like, sell most of their IP, or not sell most of their IP. Actually, I got to be very specific. They're granting Intuitive a non-exclusive license for most of their IP, except for some that they said was exclusively licensed back in 2020. And they didn't mention Medtronic, but they were saying June 2020, and that's about same time that they were announcing a partnership with Medtronic. But most of their IP they're licensing to Titan. They get an upfront payment of $7.5 million from Intuitive, and then their CEO Carrie Vance is stepping down, and they're making some other management changes as they kind of transition into this period where they're really just like licensing out IP, and saying maybe in the future they reserve the right to go and try to develop and commercialize some of this stuff. But for now it's just, it definitely seems to be more about licensing.
So what were some of the terms of the agreement? I know you mentioned that dollar amount, but what else is included in that agreement?
Well, it says that, Titan will retain ownership of the licensed IP along with the associated rights. As I said, they includes the right for them to continue to develop and commercialize those technologies in the future. It's a tough space to compete in. Intuitive, pioneered soft tissue robotic surgery, and in the 1990s and, developed a lot of relationships in the US, and they continue to innovate. And, Titan Medical had some, interesting, innovations that they thought, could work in the space. And obviously, Intuitive sees some value in that. They're, will be paying the millions of dollars to get some licensing rights to it.
Right. And it looks like Titan Medical is undergoing significant changes and some sort of a strategic shift. In this update that they provided, there was some leadership shuffling happening. Can you tell us a little more about the approved strategic transition at the company?
Oh, sure. I mean, it's, they said that their board of directors has approved a strategic transition. And the transition is they're going from developing and commercializing, robotic surgery, robotic assisted surgery technologies to evaluating new opportunities to further develop and license the intellectual property. So they keep the rights to, commercialize, in the future, should they choose to do so. But, for now, it's really like they did this development up to this point, and now they're, licensing out the IP.
And you briefly touched on CEO Carrie Vance stepping down. Who else is involved in this leadership shuffle? Where's Carrie Vance going?
Vance will remain on the board at Titan. We don't have at this point where Vance is going with it. I mean, it'll be neat to see where he lands next. We've got the current VP of Finance of the company, being appointed a Chief Financial Officer. Present CFO is transitioning to a consulting role. The VP of Legal and IP, General Counsel, Corporate Secretary transitioning to a consulting role. VP of Operations and Manufacturing transitioning to a consulting role. You got all these people who are in top leadership positions, transitioning to consulting roles, it looks like, except for Paul Cataford, who's been appointed the interim president CEO. And, while the company continues with this transition.
Well, that's all we have for today. Thank you for joining us on as a guest host this week. Thank you for all your insight as well.
Yeah, thanks, Danielle. And, if people want to find out more, go to massdevice.com.
And connect with us online. I'm on Twitter at Danielle_Kirsh, Kirsh, and the same name on LinkedIn. Where can our listeners find you, Chris?
They can find me on LinkedIn, Chris Newmarker, like a new marker.
Subscribe to the Mass Device Fast 5 wherever you listen to podcasts and share this episode. Join us Thursday for your daily MedTech news roundup. Thank you for listening.